So this is BP 220, Rule 3, Section 8, letter B. Last reading, letter A was on single family dwelling. B is for multi-family dwelling design standard of the building. So 1, plot planning. A, access to the property. Direct vehicular access to the property shall be provided by means of an abutting improved public street or alley. B, access to the dwelling. An independent means of access shall be provided to each dwelling or group of dwellings in a single plot, without trespassing adjoining properties. Each dwelling must be capable of maintenance without trespassing adjoining properties. Utilities and service facility must be independent for each dwelling unit. Each dwelling unit shall be provided with a sanitary means for the removal of garbage and trash. C. Access to living units. An independent means of access to each living unit shall be provided without passing through any yard of a living unit or any other yard. Non-residential use. Portions of the property may be designed or used for non-residential use, provided the type of non-residential use is harmonious or compatible with the residential character of the property. Some examples of allowable non-residential uses are garages, carports, cooperative store, and structures for the homeowners association. Any non-residential use of any portion of the property shall be subordinate to the residential use and character of the property. The floor area authorized for non-residential use, whether in the principal dwelling structure or in any accessory building, shall not exceed 25% of the total residential area. The computation of the non-residential areas shall include hallways, corridors, or similar spaces which serve both residential and non-residential areas. E. Open space requirements. Portions of the property shall be devoted to open space to provide for adequate light, ventilation, and fire safety. 1. Setbacks from the property line shall be maintained, the minimum of which shall be the following. So there is a table, the kind of lot, and the total or the minimum setback requirement per story. Open space required. Okay. So if it's an interior lot, 50% is required to be total open space. Okay, so the table is not clear. For inside, 20%, corner through 10% open space. But the minimum setback is not clear in the table. Okay, so anyway, 2. Distance between buildings shall also be adequately maintained to ensure light and ventilation. In general, the minimum distance between two buildings in which the taller building has more than 2 stories shall be 4 meters. And the minimum horizontal clearance between the two roof eaves shall be 1.5 meters. The minimum distance between two buildings wherein the taller building has 3 or 4 stories shall be 6 meters, and the minimum horizontal clearance between two roof eaves shall be 2 meters. The minimum distance between buildings with more than 4 stories shall be 10 meters. The minimum horizontal clearance shall be 6 meters, except, however, in cases when two sides of the buildings facing each other are blank walls, i.e., either there are no openings or only minimal openings for comfort rooms. The minimum distance between the buildings shall be 2 meters, and the horizontal clearance between the roof eaves shall be 1 meter. In the measurement of distances between two buildings, measurement shall be made where the distance between the two buildings is shortest. Okay. F. Parking requirements. For multifamily dwellings, a minimum of one parking space for every 20 living units shall be provided. Okay. 2. Building design stamps. A. Living units. In general, all building design standards for the single-family dwelling shall apply for all living units of multifamily dwellings, except that the minimum floor area of living unit in multifamily dwelling shall be 36 square meter. B. Exits. Exit requirements of a building or portion thereof shall be determined by the occupant load, which gives the largest number of persons. No obstruction shall be placed in the required width of an exit except projections permitted by these implementing rules and regulation. The occupant load in any building or portion thereof shall be determined by multiplying the number of living units by 6. 1. Number of exits. Every multifamily dwelling or usable portion thereof shall have at least one exit. Floors above the first story shall have at least two exits, which shall be remote from each other, irrespective of the occupant's load in the same story. The number of exits required from any story of a building shall be determined by using the occupant loads of floor which exit through the level under consideration as follow: 50% of the first adjacent story above and the first adjacent story below when a story below exits through the level under considerations, and 25% of the occupant load in the story immediately beyond the first adjacent story. The maximum number of exits required for any story shall be maintained until egress is provided from the structure. For the purposes of this section, basement or cellars and occupied roof shall be provided with exits as required for stories. 2. Width. Exits serving living units with occupant load of 50 or less shall have a minimum width of 0.8 meters. For every additional occupant load of 25 or fractions thereof, an additional width of 0.15 meters shall be provided. The total exit width required from any story of a building may be divided approximately equally among the separate exits, provided the minimum width of 0.8 meters is maintained. The total exit width required from any story of a building shall be determined by using the occupant load of that story plus the percentage of the occupant loads of floor which exit through the level under consideration as follows: 50 of the occupant load in the first adjacent story above and the first adjacent below when a story below exits through the level under consideration, and 25% of occupant load in the story immediately beyond the first adjacent story. The maximum exit width from any story of a building shall be maintained. 3. Arrangement of exits. Distance between any two exits shall be such that they shall be remote from each other and as arranged and constructed to minimize any possibility that both may be blocked by any one fire or other emergency condition, provided that it shall not be less than 1/5 the perimeter of the area served measured in a straight line between the exit. 4. Distance to exit. No point in a building shall be more than 45 meters from an exterior exit door, a horizontal exit, exit passageway, or an enclosed stairway measured along the line of travel. In the building equipped with a complete automatic fire extinguishing system, the distance from exit may be increased to 60 meters. 5. Automatic smoke detection alarm initiating device. Automatic smoke detection alarm initiating devices shall be installed in every family dwelling unit located and adjusted to operate reliably in case of abnormal accumulation of smoke in any part of the protected area. Installation of smoke detection alarm initiating device shall be approved for the particular application, location, and spacing. C. Corridors and exterior exit balconies. The provisions herein shall apply to every corridor and exterior exit building serving as a required exit for an occupant load of more than 50. 1. Width every corridor or exit balcony shall not be less than 1.2 meters in width. 2. Projections. The required width of corridors and exit balconies shall be unobstructed. Doors in any position shall not reduce the required width of the corridor by more than one half. 3. Access to exits. When more than one exit is required, they shall be so arranged to allow going to either direction from any dead end point. 4. Dead ends. Corridors and exterior exit balconies with dead ends are permitted when the dead end not exceed 12 meters in length. 5. Constructions. Walls of corridors above the first story shall be of masonry, CHB, bricks, titles, etc. Ceilings shall likewise be fire resistive, provided, however, that this requirement shall not apply to corridors formed by temporary partitions. Exterior exit balconies shall not project into an area where protected openings are required. 6. Openings. Where corridor walls are required to be fire resistive, every interior door opening shall be protected as set forth in generally recognized and accepted requirements for dual-purpose fire exit doors. The total are of all openings other than doors in any portion of an interior corridor wall shall not exceed 25% of the area of the corridor wall of the room being separated from the corridor. 7. Ramps. Changes in floor elevation of less than 300 meters along any exit serving a tributary occupant load of 10 or more shall be means of ramps. The maximum allowable slope for ramps is 15%. D. Common stairways. Except for stairs or ladders used only to serve as access to equipment, every stairway inside a multi-family dwelling serving 2 or more living units shall conform to the following design requirements. 1. Width. Stairways serving 2 or more living units with an occupant load of 50 or less shall have a minimum clear width of 0.9 meters. Stairways serving living units with an occupant load more than 50 shall not be less than 1 meter in width. Rise and run. Stairs shall have a maximum rise height of 0.20 meter and minimum tread width of 0.25 meters. Stairs shall be exclusive of nosing and or other projections. The maximum variation in the height of risers and the width of treads in any one flight shall be 5 meters. 3. Landings. Every landing shall have a dimension measured in the direction of travel equal to the width of the stairway. However, such dimension need not exceed 1.2 meters when the stair has a straight run. Landing shall not be reduced in width by more than 100 millimeters by a door when fully open. 4. Basement stairways. When a basement stairway to an upper story terminates in the same exit enclosure, an approved barrier shall be provided to prevent persons from continuing on to the basement. Directional exit signs shall be provided. 5. Distance between landings. There shall not be more than 3.6 meters vertical distance between landings. 6. Handrails. Stairways less than 3 meters in width shall have at least one handrail on one side, provided there is a guard or wall on the other side. Stairways measuring 3 meters to 3.5 meters in width shall have 2 handrails. Stairways more than 3.5 meters wide shall have at least one intermediate handrail for every 3 meters of required width. Intermediate handrails shall be spaced approximately equal within the entire width of the stairway, except that stairways having less than 4 risers need not have a handrail, and stairs with either a guard or wall on one end need to not be provided with a handrail on that end. 7. Handrail details. Handrails shall be placed not less than 0.8 meter nor more than 1 meter above the nosing or treads. Ends of handrails shall terminate in newel, pest, or safety terminal. 8. Distance to stairs. Per floors above first story, the maximum travel distance from the exit door of a living unit to the stairway shall be 24 meters. 9. Stairway to roof. In every building 4 or more story in height, one stairway shall extend to the roof unless the roof has a slope greater than 1 in 3. 10. Headroom. Every common stairway shall have a headroom clearance of not less than 2 meters. Such clearance shall be established by measuring vertically from a plane parallel and tangent to the stairway tread, nosing to the soffit above all points. So E, utilities and services. So let's end before section 9. So E, utilities and services. To ensure healthful and livable conditions in the project, basic utilities and services shall be provided, the minimum requirements of which shall be 1. Water supply. Water supply shall be adequate in amount and reasonably free from chemical and physical impurities. A main service connection and a piping system with communal faucets to serve the common areas like the garden, driveways, etc. shall be provided. Pipes branching out from the main water line shall service the individual units, which shall be provided with individual water meters. 2. Power supply electrical service. If available in the vicinity, a main power service shall be provided with a main circuit to service common lighting as well as common power needs of the dwelling, like the water system. However, branch circuits with separate meters shall service the individual living units. 3. Drainage system. Surface runoff shall be channeled to appropriate repositories. 4. Sewage disposal system. Sewage disposal may be accomplished by any of the following means. A. Discharge to an existing public sewerage system. B. Treatment in a community disposal plant or communal septic tank. C. Treatment in individual septic tanks with disposal by absorption, filled, or ditching pit. 5. Garbage disposal system. There shall be provided adequate services for the regular collection and disposal of garbage and rubbish. C. General construction requirements. 1. Structural requirements. All construction shall conform with the provisions of the latest edition of the Philippine Structural Code. 2. Electrical requirements. All electrical systems, equipments, and installations shall conform with the provisions of the latest edition of the Philippine Electrical Code and the requirements of the electrical utility that serves the locality. 3. Sanitary requirements. All sanitary systems, equipments, and installations shall conform with the provisions of the latest edition of the National Plumbing Code. 4. Construction materials. The use of indigenous materials for site development and construction of dwellings shall be encouraged, as long as they are in conformity with the requirements of these rules and ensures a building life span of at least 25 years or in a correspondence to loan terms of payment.